Marriage, the journey of two becoming one. But the question is, are we more excited and passionate about the wedding day or the journey of being married in itself? So we created the show Winning Together to speak to marriages. We hear couples tell us about their journey in being married, the highs, the lows, the pains, the sacrifices, the challenges, what it really means when two people from two different backgrounds, lifestyles, experiences come together and are trying to form this blending process. What's the kind of thing that happens in the pot of soup called marriage, and what makes it delicious? We hope that this series would bring healing and help to marriages. It will be light direction. And more than anything, it will just let any couple out there know that you are not alone in your challenges. Everyone is on this journey together. And our challenges are not meant to separate or divide us, but they are meant to strengthen and unify us. Enjoy the series, and remember to leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.
Hello everyone, my name is John Okhueleigbe, and my wife
Subomi Okhueleigbe.
Subomi Okhueleigbe. We've been married for 12 years and
we're blessed with two amazing boys.
Yes.
David is 11 years old and Daniel is 9 years old.
Yeah, and fact, we got married on Valentine's Day, so love lives here. It's been an amazing 12 years. We are very, very happy and we look forward to the future together. But we are here to just talk about the journey, and we're hoping
our own journey.
Yes, our journey.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that, at the end of the day, you would learn one or two things from us that would also help you on your own journey. So stick with us.
Okay, so where do we start this? I think from when we're called for this, and we looked at each other and said, what were we going to talk about? We don't have any issues. And from both of us talking, we realized that, not that we didn't have issues. We did have issues but they weren't as such a big deal as it was when we initially got married. And after a while, we started looking back at the days that when we started dating to when we got married, and we realized that we had a lot of issues. But now we felt like, okay, we didn't have issues as much as we did. And that's because we worked on our issues over time.
Yeah, so before we got married, while we were dating, we had quite a lot of issues. I think that when we were called to come and do this, initially, I didn't want to come at all because I didn't want us to come across as people who were just too good to be true. And
hypocrites.
And that's because I honestly, for the life of me, could not think of any pertinent issue or any challenge that I wanted to talk about. But then she reminded me that a lot of the issues we had before we got married, and we walked through those things.
And so, when we just got married.
And then when we just got married, I think the first few years, maybe 1 or 2 years or so, there were also some issues, but then we were now able to get over those issues. Perhaps that's why today we really don't think, like she said, that they are big deals anymore. But then they were such big deals.
So it's not even like we don't have regular issues, arguing every day now and then, all that. But I think what has helped us is that what we see as regular day-to-day misunderstanding and getting along and arguing and whatever is now become a part of us that we don't see it as a big deal anymore, and we think that we're really good. So we can say today that we're good, and then somebody sees us arguing about something and means and say, but you said you're good. And we're like, did you tell you we had issues? We don't have issues. We're just arguing and we're good. So
I think it's really about the perspective, but not just the perspective alone. But because we've walked through a lot of those things, they are almost like furnitures and fittings. So they're just part of the marriage. And we deal with them
on a daily.
Yes, as we go. So where do we start?
Let's start from finances.
Okay.
I think that's one issue that was, it was such an issue even before, while we're dating. And I would say that we both didn't come from a rich home. Like we weren't born with silver spoons. So we had to work our way through, like, so we had challenges. We did have challenges. It's not like you had a car when we were going to get married. It's not like you couldn't afford the basic things. And I was on the outside the fashionista, but a lot of that didn't come from home. It came from me doing my business. So it was one of the major issues we had, and it's one of the major issues that a lot of marriages have.
So in terms of finances, yes, like she said, I used to describe myself as Ajek Baku. So,
Okay.
you know, so if we put it that way. So it wasn't like, so we met in school. I was about going into my final year. She was a second year student. She was my student. So I was an egghead in school. I was a nerd. And so I used to do accounting tutorials and the likes, and she attended my class a few times, and I took a shine to her. Is that how they say it? Yes. So I liked her, kind of, and I think she liked me back, you know, but then we didn't hit it off then. I think it was much later, like 4 months or so down the line. Outside of school, we met again, and then we started going out. But then the finances thing put us under some pressure when we were dating, because there were friends, you know, and there were people that had expectations, and the people
There were a
she
lot of
dated
expectations.
before me
Exactly.
were obviously very boxed up.
Not very
you
boxed
know.
up, but at least boxed up.
Relatively speaking.
And I was always selling one thing or the other, doing my business, and it felt like, this guy, what are you doing with this guy?
And the finances thing has different sides to it. So, I mean, for instance, she was a fashionista. Subomi would paint herself from head to toe. I remember one Independence Day celebration. She had green, all the way from her hair to her shoes. You know, and
I
here
had green contact lens.
Yes,
I
she
remember.
had green contact lenses. And here I wear a palm slippers, I wear a normal T-shirt, and I wear chinos or regular jeans, and I was just a very, very simple guy. And I was comfortable in my skin. I was comfortable the way I was. All I knew was I was into this girl, and she was into me. And I think that most of the pressure then were from people around us. And we didn't realize that God was helping us, because I think that was our lion and bear, as it were. Because it sort of helped us when we got married. We had dealt with peer pressure and influences and all of that. So as we began to grow, you know, the truth is, at whatever level you find yourself, there's always pressure. There's always someone else who is better, you know, one way or the other. And being able to deal with that early was very, very useful.
So in terms of finances, my issue was that I had a lot of issues with you when we just got married. It felt like this man, okay, I was the calculating one. No matter how much I had, I wanted to do this like this like this, and plan. You felt like let's just have fun. Let's just do this. When we have money, let's spend. And I was the opinion that, no, we don't have to spend that way. So we had conflicting issues that was a buffer. So I can't talk about myself without talking about my business. So my name is Subomi. My business is Elisha. So if you hear me say Elisha, I don't really mean me. I mean my business, because it's totally different. Although people call me Elisha. So sometimes growing Elisha and growing a business was a very big challenge. Like it was interesting. We didn't really have, but one of the things that helped us then was the fact that because of where we're coming from, we're able to manage whatever we had. And to think that I got pregnant just after we got married and started a family just after that. We got married. We got our house like 2 weeks just before we got married. And we didn't have curtains. In fact, it was the first day that we got into the room that we realized that, whoa, we didn't have curtains. So we picked one old bed sheet from my former house, from my former room, and put it on the curtain. But one of the beautiful things was that it wasn't an issue. We had each other. And it was interesting for me to live like that. I felt like, okay, I had this person and I saw the future. I knew that we're going to grow and we're going to get there. But you were always worried that, always wanting to make things more comfortable for me.
Yes.
So I remember vividly, one day that I always tell people, I remember very well, I didn't have enough funds because I was doing my business, and you went to work and you gave me some money in the morning. We didn't have water in the house, so we used to call malams to bring water back in the days. And after giving me money for the malams, I looked at my house and I was like, why will I give Mala money to bring water when we don't have enough food? So I took the money, I went to the market. I was pregnant. I went to the market to buy a few pepper and a few things, yeah? And by the time I got home, I was tired, so I dropped it. There was no water to cook. I'd had my bath with the last water. So I went to the well. By evening, I wanted to make dinner. So I went to the well and I was pulling the well. My husband came back from work and saw me, and he went all AWire on me, like, what do you want people to say? A pregnant woman pulling the well. And I was like, no, that's not the issue. So now, now we had a fight that night. And you can imagine the kind of things that cause quarrels between back then. I was trying to be all loving and providing the food. He was thinking, you're stressing yourself. You know, so we had to sit down at the end of the day and talk about it. I'm sure I cried that day. I'm sure I cried because for me to remember very well.
Cries,
yeah, so it was one of the challenges we had. His priority in terms of finances was totally different from mine.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to realize that it was coming from the place of love. I was coming from the place of calculation. And
I think it's important that I butt in here and quickly say that. So, I came out of school. I was blessed. I was very, very blessed. Came out of school, went for NYSC, got a job before I finished NYSC with a prestigious bank. You know, but then entry level then was pretty low. So whatever I was earning was not a lot, but it was a good job, you know, as it were. So I was earning money. Now she was a student, finished school, was doing her business. She was trying to pick up. It's interesting when she says that it was from a place of love, because I remember then that as far back as that time, and I still do it till date, whenever I got my bonus, I would share it and give to her. She knew how much I was earning from day one, you know, and, you know, we used to manage whatever we had and we're comfortable. But then the quarrels were mostly from, she would want to penny pinch and calculate everything. I felt that let's spend it. Let's just, you know, do what we had to do. And so those were the areas in which we kept clashing. But then by the time we talked about it, she then realized that I was coming from a place where I felt that this woman should not suffer. This woman should not go through, you know, pain, as it were. Meanwhile, she was thinking,
I was always thinking that thought was wrong, because if we spent that way, I will end up suffering. So my mindset was more like, it's better, okay, let's, for want of what, suffer. It's better we suffer now and gradually move into a place of comfort than enjoying all we had now and really don't have anything.
Yeah.
So I remember very well that there was an issue in the house where even when I started making money in my business, there are a lot of things I could do at home. But I'd rather use the money to buy another machine or go for a training abroad as we grew. And sometimes you just be like, but Elisha can afford to do this in the house. Or when we want to move house then, because that house we stayed for almost 10 years before we moved. And when we wanted to move, you'd be like, both of us can actually do that. I'll say, no, I can't do it. Elisha can afford it, but Subomi cannot afford it. So I always distinguish between the business and myself.
And I think that it's important to mention in terms of finances that when you marry someone who is enterprising and someone who works hard like my wife, then there is an issue. So obviously I had a good job, and as time went on, one of the things that she said was, even before we got married, both of us had prospects. We knew that we were committed to a future and all of that. Now, as time went by and, I started advancing in my career, her business also started improving. I could use my clout to support her business. She was also doing well, so she could also get funding for her business. But then you get to a point where you feel that you guys want to do a major project as a family. And then you feel that, okay, your business is doing okay. I have supported your business, do you understand, over time, and we've been able to build something together. So can we, take funds from there? In retrospect, I appreciate that she was disciplined enough to separate the business from herself. I did resent at some point, I did feel bad at some point that I know how much we're doing in terms of the business, and I also did feel that we could have taken some money from the business to take care of some things in the home and all of that and achieve some other things that we wanted to do. But then I appreciate also now that she had the discipline to say, you know what, we would get there. Let's manage what we have. Let's plan around what we have. I need to grow my business and all of that. And I recall that because I was in the financial services sector and I do a lot of financial advisory and all of that, I remember having conversations with her around pay yourself now. You need to save. You need to be keeping money and all of that. And that also was one of the things that we used to quarrel about.
We did. So for instance, I want to travel and I'll think, okay, Elisha has made this so amount of money and I need to go for this training to help me improve. After the training, I need to buy the machines for this. And to me, it was the business. It was my money. I worked for it. And I used to think that, okay, one of the ways you supported the business was you paid the rent and you paid school fees. I didn't pay all of that. I paid maybe basic food stuff and all that to help the family, but a lot of it was my sweat. And I used to think that, okay, please let me spend my money as I like. But one thing I realized was we're together in this. And if you were in the picture, I'll be paying rent, I'll be paying school fees. So what's the point? You are doing your own part. What part am I really doing? Okay, I was doing the house and all that, but I realized that it was in stages when it comes to finances. So a lot of times, when I want to travel, I have to sit you down and say, okay, I want to go to so country this time around. I want to learn this, learn it. And I have to sit you down and explain to you from head to toe how I'll spend the money, the advantage the money will bring by the end of the day and all that. And I used to feel like, it was work. One thing that helped me to do, although it was stress, it was an issue because we used to argue a lot. Sometimes traveling for me was planning like 2 months ahead, and I would have to come back to tell you why I need to go. You say, no, it wasn't okay. I'll go back and do more research.
And I think it's important to mention,
and come back.
To mention that that process was difficult for you.
For both of us,
it was a very
really
difficult process because I was very, very hard, with you. Again, textbook banker, you're thinking return on investment, you're thinking, so what's the value add, and all those funny things. But it's really about a bit more than that. It's about passion, it's about growth, it's about the future.
Let me mention this. It's also about a businesswoman that thinks she owns her money and she has to report to somebody that feels that you can't do this to grow. As much as that feeling, and why I'm reiterating this is because I've met a lot of women say, it's my money now. I did the whole work and all that. But one of the things that bonded us was that I had to report to you about my money. This is not even your money, as it were. It's like my money, but I still have to report to you to tell you that this is what I want to do with it, and this is how I went. So one of the things why I said that let's start with finances and talk about how we have grown is because now, a lot of things that I've done over time in terms of traveling and improving the business, it was that rigorous. But after a while, I tell you I want to travel, and the issue is not you cannot anymore. It was now, oh, okay, when are you going? So we moved, and one day I was like, you didn't even ask me what. I was ready to give you, all the details of how it was going to, this time around, I'm going for this.
So comfortable with going into the details. I think because
you had gotten comfortable with seeing that this would pay the business after a while. So it was a lot.
I think we grew through that process mostly because we talked a lot.
Yes, we talked a lot. It was draining, but we did.
It was difficult because, frankly, she would tell me, now I knew you, and I knew that you thought 10 steps ahead. So I knew that if you came to me to talk about traveling today, you thought about it 3 months before. So part of the issue for you was, how do I tell this man? In fact, part of what we used to quarrel about really was, everything you say no, you just say no.
The first telling you that I want to travel for a course or I want to buy a machine.
My first reaction was always
the first thing is no.
Was always a no.
And then the second step, maybe the no is high, then I need to prove myself. Exactly. Then the next time is no.
And I think it's important.
Then the next one is, okay, can I know why? Then the next one is yes, but you. Then the next time, so it was stages and it was draining. And this was years.
It took years. Because I was going to say that we didn't get there overnight. It was through this whole process of talking,
discovering each other.
I mean, I also started hating myself for always shutting her down, But then the truth was, I never completely shut you down. I always left a window for you to come back and explain to me. And it wasn't always about money, because after a while we were comfortable. I'd done very well in my career. Your business was still doing okay. But then you would still say you want to travel, and I would still go no. And I think that at some point it had become a habit, and that was something that we both had to also learn and watch out for. Behavioral patterns that we had gotten accustomed to, and we were now doing for no reason. So I mean, money wasn't an issue again, thankfully, But then you would come and say you wanted to travel, and then I would still, my first instinct would be to say no. But then again, I think that the primary thing that helped us was this conversation, this very, very difficult conversations. And
those nights,
both of us giving each other an allowance to at least explain ourselves. So it was never an outright no for me, and it was never a
I must go. No, it wasn't like that.
For you.
And I think over time it helped me, because I now have to think deep about why.
I remember you cancelled 1 or 2 trips.
Oh, yes, I did. I mean, over time.
And I was even very supportive of you going. But
then
I
after
think
a while,
our process,
the process now, that's what I was saying.
In terms of thinking about those things. So, and it was no longer an emotional conversation for you, because I had to appreciate you for cancelling that particular trip. I think it was either the trip to India or one of those trips. There was a particular trip. Yes.
That one was not finances. That was not finances. You're not okay with India. So after a while, I thought about it, and I was like, okay, I don't want to go there. And I'm feeling like if something goes wrong, I say, but my husband said don't go. You should have went. So it was one of the things.
And I think that whenever you did something that I wanted eventually, I always had a way of coming back to say thank you.
Yes. So in terms of
reinforced it.
finances,
Yeah.
another issue I had was, or I've always had and still have, is you always wanted to spend more.
Oh, yeah.
While
I think
want
we
to
still have
spend.
that issue till
Well, that's
today.
that I said still have.
Yes.
Like, you are the one that wants to just
I'm the big
spend that
spender.
money while I'm, and then I never get over it. Like, but even now, I'm just like, okay. So I think one of the things that helped me to get over that is, in my head, I think, okay, it pays this, it does this, he's responsible. His personality is a spender. I have to give him room to be that spender.
Yeah.
So that spender is, okay, this, so we had limits. You're a spender, you can spend whatever you want. This limit allow you to be the spender for whenever you want to spend this particular amount,
Yeah.
but don't go past this.
This is a very powerful conversation, really, because one of the things that happened to me is from when we were dating to when we got married, I never had the sense of this is my money. And even when I had done very well in my career and I was earning, quite well and all of that, I still didn't have a sense of this is my money. For me, that had always been this is our money. So till tomorrow, you still know how much I earn. When I get my bonuses, you know what they are and all of that.
I have to know now, else you blow everything.
But the interesting conversation is that I didn't change. I am still I'm still at heart a big spender.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I also want to spend big on you, but then you stop me. And so half the time I want to do, I remember.
And that's the issue, because sometimes you justify it by saying you want to spend on me.
Yes.
But that's not it for me. By the time you spend on me and then we'll go broke, then what's the point?
Exactly. And to be honest, I think that part of the issue is, and in fairness to my colleagues in the industry, is being in the financial services sector, you see a lot of opportunities. Do you understand? And it just conditions you to believe that, everything is just all right. And so I think that's also part of the thing that, drives that spending thing. But I always say to my friend that you are my financial controller. For some reason, I think because you are an entrepreneur, and all of that, you've helped me sort of keep that in check. So even till recently, we still had a conversation where I told you about some expenditures that I wanted to do. and you read me the riot act to say, but the truth is, I never feel like, then I used to have that issue that this is my money now, madam, what's your problem? You understand? But because I've seen the value that you bring
over time
from your perspective in terms of how we should manage our finances, it has helped me to come to appreciate, your view. I'm still very indulgent, so I still spend, but within reason.
Okay.